what I'd like to start with is tell us a bit about, before we get into the films themselves, I want to know a bit about you guys. Where you came from before you made this film. What were you doing before you made this film? What your careers have been like before you get to talk about the specifics of this movie. You want to start with yourself?
Sure. I'm an actor. I'm 30 years in the business this year, actually. Proud SAG member, now SAG-AFTRA member for all that time. So that's what I've been doing. And every once in a while, I come across, it's just that moment where something sort of, you stumble upon something, or a gift is given to you, and that was the case with Dig Deeper. I do also want to say that earlier in my career, I actually did a film that Michael Masarof wrote and directed. Really? So I've known him for a while, and I'm proud to sort of be up here with him as well.
Nice, great.
I've been an indie writer and filmmaker in New York here for a little over 10 years. I came up here for college. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. And I have an acting background as well. I came up and got my my BFA at Pace University. But I also, from high school to as soon as I got to college, I was always just trying to round up people to go make films. And so I've made half dozen to a dozen some odd short films for about, I don't know, probably collectively like $100. And then I got to make this one, which this Dig Deeper. The only reason this happened is because, honestly, because Slam Dance Film Festival, this script went through their screenplay contest, and that had just a big impact on my career and certainly opened all the doors to ultimately get this made. And so, yeah, I just been here slogging it out with anybody that wants to run out into the streets with the camera and make movies.
Just grinding. Okay. Michael?
So yeah, as Victor mentioned, I made a film with him at NYU. I went to grad school there. He was, I guess, in the acting program before me, but
Long
yeah,
before you, yeah.
And Casey actually here in my film also was in the grad acting program, and so I guess I really liked working with the grad actors, and actually Timothy in our movie as well. But I'm a filmmaker. I live in LA. I came here because grew up in New York, and family's here, and I really wanted to be able to screen this film here. I made a feature a few years ago that's out, and just like you, slogging, just trying to make films as much as possible.
Great. Casey?
Hi, I'm Casey Killoran. I'm an actor, and I'm also a filmmaker, not on this film, just an actor, but, well, it's indie film, so even the actors can help along the way. But yeah, I hooked up with a couple of NYU grad actors and grad film after I graduated myself and made a feature very naively, and then a couple of shorts, and still doing that. But just trying to stay involved, keep the creative juices flowing and do what I love.
Great.
Hi, I'm Darren Dean. I've been producing for about 20 years. It was like a midlife career change when I hit about 40. Started producing for Sean Baker with Prince of Broadway. We did Tangerine together. We did the Florida Project together, which landed at 74 on the 100 greatest films of the 21st century today.
Nice.
Since then, I've also worked with Rashad Green on Premature, Alex Rivera on The Infiltrators, and produced Sabrina Carpenter's very first leading role with Short History of the Long Road. And yeah, then one of the last things I made was this coming out of the pandemic. And that's pretty much what I got.
Great. So why don't we start with you, Darren, since you're already talking. Tell us a little bit about the impetus of Once More Like Rain Man. Where did it all come from? How did the story get evolved?
So with Once More Like Rain Man, the story came from, as you could see, Bella not only starred in the film, but she also wrote the film. And Bella is on the spectrum, and she had somebody actually did say to her in an audition, "We need you to perform more like Rain Man." And so she decided to turn that into a movie, and wrote this really wonderful script that we workshopped a little bit, and then then we started working to find financing. but she wanted to tell a story about the audition process in particular for autistic women because on the spectrum, girls do present differently than men, and so for a lot of girls, they don't present, with the typical symptoms, and all the guys in the film that you see doing the Rain Man thing, right, actually are not autistic, But the idea was to make this film that not only explored that idea, but also we really wanted to employ. I'd say 60 to 70% of our cast and crew were somewhere on the spectrum or had family on the spectrum. So that was really, we wanted to make this really inclusive film to let people know that autism is out there and it's a functional, kind of world.
Mm-hmm. Great. And the women from Hamburg, how did that come about?
So it came about through a Claims conference, actually, which they had a short film contest. Claims Conference is a organization that funds Holocaust films or films really about the Holocaust, and they had a short film contest. And I had actually read this short story by Hannah Kroll when I was in grad school at NYU, and then I remembered I had that sort of a version of it that I'd written back then, which was like 15 years ago. And I rewrote it for this contest. I actually didn't even win the contest. I was a finalist. But I was like, I had spent so much time. Actually, my producer, Sharon Barnes, is here, and my sound designer, Ann Tokinen's here. But me and Sharon were talking, and I was like, we already spent so much time working on this film we were finalists and trying to get it sort of through that process. And I was like, it's such an important film, and so much obviously has happened this was before October 7th, but even before that, so much happening regarding the Holocaust and Jews and anti-Semitism. I was like, it seems like a really right moment. And so I just took advantage of that and told the story. The story to me was something that, like I said, I read originally 15 years ago, and I was always fascinated by it. I always say that when I read, sounds weird, but there's like Holocaust films, but I felt like this short story was kind of reassessing what that was. And it was sort of darker and more truthful, and it came from a perspective of a female perspective. So I know there's something that fascinated me about it, and this is like a short feature. It's a huge film, but I just somehow birthed it out with everyone. Casey and everyone did such an amazing job, and I think it resonates now even more than. It's a Holocaust film, but it really could be anything happening today. People disappearing off the street or hiding in war in Ukraine. So it's I feel like it's very present for today, and
To stay with you for 1 second, because I'm curious, and maybe people in the audience, how was your process of licensing the underlying rights? How did that go?
Expensive. No, I contacted actually a friend of mine here tried to help me with it, but did help me with it. But I reached out to the Swiss. He was the owner of the copyright was in Switzerland, and at first he's like, oh yeah, he wanted a lot of money, and I was like, even though I live in Los Angeles, I'm not like some hotshot Hollywood producer. I'm like, I have no money, but I licensed, for a certain amount of years, and I still have license, but it was pretty simple. I just had to sort of get a lawyer to help me do the copyright, and then the only thing that's interesting story. There's a lot of people here, but the I didn't know at the time the story that it's based off. The people were still alive, and in the process of optioning the rights to the story, the Swiss publisher was like, oh, you should contact the woman from Hallberg's daughter, Halusha, in the movies. I was like, she's still, she's alive, and actually I have been trying to get in touch with her, and unfortunately doesn't, even though a movie, my movie and a feature film was made of her life and a short story, she doesn't want to communicate with the outside world. So that's kind of an interesting.
All right. How about Dig Deeper? Where was the impetus for this story?
Believe it or not, Dig Deeper was not based on a true story. I just got wrapped up in this idea of a gravedigger that treats his graves like they're works of art. I just kept making myself laugh with that, quite honestly, and also, it's it's a movie about trying to make things and hoping people like them, which I assume everybody here can relate to. And it's also about a blue collar guy working on his emotional life, and that was just compelling to me, kind of as I got into it. In terms of the tone, I'm definitely influenced by guys like Martin McDonagh, his stage and screen work, just that kind of pitch black comedy. I think he does very well. And I found that very necessary for what the story was because, I've been to a lot of funerals. That's probably where the personal side comes in. And I don't know if you know this, but they're kind of a bummer. And and so with this movie, it really, you couldn't have like sympathy or preoccupation for the morbidity of the thing, the dead or the bereaved. So it served the purpose of making sure the emotional through line was just like one character's quest for validation, as opposed to getting distracted with any of the heaviness that is obviously associated with death. And so that all kind of just mixed together in this way that I was sitting with the script for quite a while, and as I mentioned, it went through a number of kind of screenplay competitions that helped sort of give me the confirmation that I was in the right place with it. And I like dark little short stories. I like things that feel like I feel like this is one of those things that could be found in like a book of short stories, something like Flannery O'Connor kind of stuff. And that was always just creatively something I wanted to do, was something with that kind of structure and that kind of tone. And I think I kind of worked for a long time to get to a place where I had a script that really felt like it was fulfilling that for me. And so, yeah, it was just a long stretch of time with this living in my head. So you can imagine how healthy that was.
Great. All right. So let's talk to you guys about how the casting process. Victor, how did this come to you, and how did you get involved? What was the process?
Yeah, so it's...
Can I say the very first part, and then you can say the rest?
Sure.
I have to get credit for the shout out, which
I was going to do that.
Yeah, I know, but I got to get. You understand? You understand why?
Your
I have to
director's
claim this credit,
upstaging you right now.
You understand why? Hold on, you'll understand
I
one second.
understand.
I have to claim credit for this because the person that introduced me to Victor is someone I'm getting married to in 2 months. So I have to give the credit to my beautiful fiance Alexa for me even knowing him to begin with. Now you can go.
Thank you. But that's in the gist. That's pretty
Well
much the gist
played.
of it.
Well played. Yes.
It's as a SAG-AFTRA member, it's sort of like I look back on my life and it's sort of my career, and it's always been great. It's sort of you never know when your opportunity, where they're coming from. It's fascinating to sort of see where they come. So Alexa was an assistant at my agency for a short period of time, and I remember a couple of times needing help with some auditions, and I was scrambling for some help, and I called, and they said, Alexa is looking for some side work, and so she helped me out with some auditions, and then she left and moved on to do other things. She's an actor as well, and she emailed me and was like, hey, I haven't been at the agency for a while. I hope you don't mind, but my boyfriend wrote this script. Like, would you read it? I was like, sure. And I was like, oh my God, this is so fucking good. And
that happens every time you say sure, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. But it was like, this is so great, and I always wanted also to, dabble a little bit in producing, and I was like, I reached out to him. I said, I love the script. This is also maybe a great opportunity for me to also dip my toes into being a producer. So that's how it fell in my lap.
And Casey, so you were already involved in the project from the beginning, is that right? Or he kind of came to you with it?
No, I auditioned
Oh,
like
you
a
did?
regular actor. Yeah, sorry, Victor. I love Victor. I love Victor, and he has a production company. And I auditioned. I did the actor head thing. Should I audition with a Polish accent? And
so
I
did you?
jumped off the cliff and did it. I love accents. My dad's Irish, so I grew up with different tonalities in the house. And I'm from Staten Island, so, I grew up talking like this, and I had to learn how to not talk like this. So jumped off the edge, and then the team was very NYU-centric, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't really, actually working with Victor from like years ago, I don't really like to like cast people based on audition, what's that, the app called we use? I mean the
Actors Access?
Actors Access. But it was somehow strange. I couldn't find a Polish, like someone who looked right or felt right, and then I just went on that just to like, I'll just do it for fun or whatever. And then Casey sent it, and then she had the NYU connection, and Timothy, who was also in the film, who played Jan, was like, "Oh, this is really good, right?" And he's like, "Do you know her?" And yeah, but I like to work with actors that I know and like have a sort of relationship with. But Casey was amazing to work with, and also one other thing, the film is usually with subtitles, and so if anyone is interested in watching it, if you didn't understand what was being said, I can send you a screener with the subtitles. I apologize, I forgot to tell them to put the subtitles on. So.
And so Darren, can you talk about the casting process for
Absolutely,
your film?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, well, first of all, we shot it during the actor strike. Okay, during the SAG-AFTRA strike, and so we did get, obviously full blessing from SAG, and it was a time when people, even though there was a strike, still wanted to work. I mean, you can see, I'm sure you recognize many of those faces in the film. Joe Mantegna, James Paxton, James Ponsoldt, Matt Smith. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's like, Susie Bacon. So like, these were all somehow connected to the producers, to Sue Ann, who directed it. And so we just started making calls. I mean, there wasn't any auditions, we just started making calls, and people were like, sign me up, tell me when to show. And, and like they say in the film, there were a lot of people who wanted to do it for the cause, and especially, I mean, Joe's been very public about, his autistic child, so a lot of these folks were just like, this is an opportunity for me to, cast a light on this. So yeah, I mean, we just started making calls, and then we all jumped in front of the camera ourselves at the beginning of the film. All the producers are in that scene. I don't know why she put us there, but I don't know if it goes towards like SAG points or anything.
I don't think so. Interesting. So tell us a little bit about how, tell us about how you financed your films, how you put together your teams, like how you really put together the structure of each one of your films. Were you out spending your own money? Were you fundraising? Did you have investors, etc.?
Yes, definitely ended up spending some of my own money. But also, I mean, Victor came on as an investor. We have a really great producer who was at the LA screener today, Luca De Oliveira. He brought in resources on his end that were absolutely essential to get the movie made. As I'm sure we all experienced just sort of the effects of COVID on these different projects, I definitely went through many iterations of what this movie could have looked like from a production logistics team standpoint. Different producers, different financiers, different kind of timelines, and many of them sort of came and went. But I'd say the kind of big turning point was when Luca and I started to work together on it. He was working on he's an actor. He was working on the CBS show Clarice, and we had connected because he was just kind of holed up in his apartment in Toronto while they were filming, and so all he could do was Zoom with me on his downtime. And so together he and I kind of started to sort out where like the big pillars were going to come in to allow us to build this thing. And as I mentioned, eventually I was connected with Victor, and he very generously in the very first meeting came in and I wanted to produce, which was not something I necessarily expected when I first reached out to you.
Right. So just real quick on my end, so it was an opportunity. It was like it was something I'd always wanted to do. And so you're talking about Luca, similar with me. It's like I was lucky enough to land a nice part on a project at the time. And I was like, I'm gonna take a little bit of this money and do this thing. And so we had agreed on that. I think that the snag that was like, okay, this is gonna be more than I thought, was the new COVID protocol.
Yeah.
That just sort of, shall we say, it nearly doubled the.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
I mean,
so that was the thing that was sort of like, oh, this is going to be difficult, but we were still able to like swing it. And I think part of it, I'll let you finish though, is you were talking about NYU. You leaned on a lot of your college. You leaned on a lot of your college connections as well, in terms of crew, in terms of friends you grew up with, in terms of editing, so a little bit of that, this and that.
I definitely had many people in my team that were longtime friends, family members, and in some cases, I mean, Luca, who I mentioned, I knew him from college, and then we reconnected, but also I mean, the funeral sequences are packed with family members, some of whom are here.
So those bros are your bros?
Those
Your
bros,
bros
well,
is bros.
actually, what I should say is the two funeral portraits, the kid and then the older woman. The kid is my younger brother, and the older woman is my grandmother. And they had to pose. They had to get other people to take those photos of them in Tennessee and then send them to me. And I can only imagine what they told the people taking the photos. But all that to say, it absolutely was a labor of love built on people I love in the community around me, and yeah, certainly contacts from college, and the editor who was also on set the whole time is like one of my best friends from high school. I've worked with on all my films throughout the years.
You guys did.
I'm still looking for money, so I still have an open fiscal sponsorship.
I'll take more money.
Yeah, I'm in a lot of debt. Thanks, Mom. No, no, but my mom actually helped fund. I mean, my parents a lot. I had like my own money. It was. It's funny. I've gone to a bunch of film festivals with this film, and I've like asked, so someone made a film for $10,000. I'm like, $10,000. Like, I mean, I like paid everyone. Everyone got, it adds up. I mean, and we shot in one location, Staten Island, that was an old sea like captain's mansion, and it was, yeah, it adds up. But I did I had a fiscal sponsorship where you could like donate, and then you get a tax write-off, and I also did a Kickstarter. And you just have to keep going and doing it and finding people and asking, and eventually, Victor didn't give me any money for the film we've been
I did not.
But the one other thing, back to casting, I was thinking this is kind of an odd thing, and the film, obviously about Jewish, Polish, not Jewish, but Jewish people. I was like, I want to cast, like, I think Fablemans had just come out, and I was like, I want to cast only Jewish actors to play the Jewish people in the movie, which was kind of like. It just became like a thing. I really wanted to do that, so I made them give a blood test. No, but I made but seriously, I went around and all the four Jewish females in the movie are. So I just thought it was an interesting kind of casting tidbit.
I also want to add, you invested into your actors as well with providing a dialect coach, because there was many different, very specific dialects from each region. It was very detailed, and literally the first indie film that I've been a part of that has done that. And so much so that I was like, I'm going to get another, like, I invested in the film by getting more lessons, it snowballed. And so to see that, and it was inspiring.
Yeah, short films are difficult because you're kind of, I mean, again, this was like a feature short, but I was like, I really want to make it special. So if I don't spend the money, then I'm going to regret, I should have done this or done that. And I just had made it like a low budget feature. I mean, this short almost cost the same as the feature I made, which was a very, very simple feature. But I mean, I think the period costumes, there's age makeup. I, had an age makeup person. I had the one wardrobe person did like 50 years of wardrobe. So it was
Karen Bauer.
Yeah, Karen Boyer.
Yeah,
she's brilliant. Yeah.
The time span, it was just very
We shot
detailed.
this whole movie in 4 days,
Wow.
and it goes from 1934 to 1991. So
Darren,
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody up here knows it's incredibly difficult to find money for short films. I mean, it's hard to find money for movies in general, but short films are, because typically people know that there's not really an opportunity for a return on investment, things like that. So we were looking for a while for funding for this, and then, oddly enough, Bella, our star, won a lawsuit, and she financed the film. And the budget ended up being close to 50. It wasn't going to our crew or actors. Everybody was taking $100 a day. It was the location, the Palace Theater in LA, that I don't think we maximized enough. Like, I don't think we didn't take any shots from the balcony or anything. So, but that was really our biggest kind of chunk, plus our gear. But and then feeding all those actors.
So if you get a chance, definitely sue somebody. And then
Apparently that works. Yeah.
That's your advice. Great, that's good.
I should have thought of that.
Go. I'm always curious. Did any of your films change considerably from script to production and through post-production, or did you make exactly what was written from start to finish? Were there big leaps or changes that happened along the way?
Just speaking for myself, no, very, very little changed from the script that Victor was sent originally to the final version that we watched here, other than me giving up on certain songs I wanted and then finding ones that I was like, never mind, that was better the whole time. Like that kind of stuff, which I think is par for the course with most filmmaking.
Yeah, the biggest change was the film was, because it has these time periods, and the script is all, they jump around much more, and we started editing it, and I guess I did that version first, and I showed it to some people, and they were like, other than people who knew the film, were like, it's already confusing, but then making it into different time periods makes it even more. So we went with the straight story version, which still isn't very straight, but other than that, yeah, I mean, it's a really long short, as I keep saying, and one thing in this process, if people are going to make short films, like I know a lot of short film festivals are very keen on shorter films nowadays. So like the big ones like Convents, they all limit to 15 now. So, that's just one bit of. Originally I was like, I'm going to make a 15, 20-minute short, but it ended up, what it should be, but just that's sort of, I guess the biggest thing is like I felt like it needed to be that length, but pretty much it was what I wrote in a way.
Yeah, so I would say once we shot everything that was in the script, there was no real kind of diversions from what we had in the script, but we did cut our darlings in post. The song itself is like 7 minutes long, I think, the version that we shot, and so we just had to find spots to kind of trim it, and the monologue as well, because as we got further into the cut, we wanted to just keep the energy that was going through the beginning of the film up at the end, or at least somewhat the same pace. So in the cutting of the darlings, that's where we had the changes from the original script.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and how's everyone's premiere process or distribution process been? Where did you guys premiere these films? Where are they going?
We premiered at Newport Beach Film Festival and screened subsequently at Soho International Film Festival here, New York Indie Shorts Fest, a handful of festivals that definitely gave us just a really nice wide range of audiences and audience reactions. Nothing entertains me more than watching people watch this film, I'll tell you that. And as far as distribution goes, that's something that we're in talks with a few different entities with right now, but it really is my first experience kind of going through those conversations and discussing things like, is there any way we can not see the gun get all the way into his mouth? That kind of stuff. So it's a very, very new space that I'm in there that I'll get back to you on.
Okay.
Yeah, I distribute through, I think called Seven Palms. I know they approached me. They had seen the film somewhere, and then I think in a market, and then he's getting it out there, I guess. I mean, I honestly haven't. It was only like a few weeks ago that he started. So at some point, I would love to get the film just up so that people can see it. I don't know what that looks like. Again, like you said about short film distribution, it's a very, I don't know if there's like the classes this week are on it, but it's an odd thing to distribute a short film. So some people, just put it up there for people to watch. The film played at a lot of festivals. I didn't really have like a huge premiere. It just sort of played in different cities. It's going to play at played at a few Jewish film festivals. So it's coming up, I think, in November. It's going to be playing at a festival in San Diego, Jewish Film Festival. But I think it's been an interesting journey because it is like a period piece and kind of like a Holocaust film and a Jewish. So it's like whoever's programmed these, I think, did a really nice job. Because they were very different films, but they all really worked really well together. And I think that's one of the things that's interesting about going to festivals and distribute your film is like, how do you place this kind of film in this world? So, but kudos to who programmed this, and kudos, thank you for, I didn't say that before, but thank you for having me. I was really honored, and what a great panel and great films and great experience. So thank you.
Sure. Darren?
Yeah. Yeah, so we premiered. We premiered at LA Shorts. We've played, Dallas Film Festival, a bunch of pretty high domestic, festivals. I think we've won like something between like 15 plus awards for the film, or for Bella, or for Suanne, or but we don't have distribution in place at the moment. We've been having conversations, but nothing that is concrete.
Okay. So lastly, just tell us what you're up to next, everyone. What you got? What do you got in the hopper?
I'm very excited because I've never entered the horror film genre. So there's a film called The Home, starring Pete Davidson, that opens up in a month, and I'm very excited for me to be in a horror film.
I'm excited for that too. I'm pitching a few projects right now, so if anybody out there is looking for a shoot 'em up black comedy action movie set in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, or a pretty ambitious art heist script, you let me know. I got something for you.
Victor, do you play the person haunting people, or are you being haunted?
You got to go see the movie. What are you talking about?
I
Davidson thing?
cannot say.
I am actually writing. This is a sort of newer thing because the film we've been done with a couple years, but I decided to actually take this film, this short feature, onto as a real feature. So I'm writing that, and I have a few other projects I'm working on. But yeah, I mean, after making a feature and then going back to make a short, I'm like, if it's the same amount of energy and time and sometimes money, I'm like, I'm just going and make feature films from now on. So hopefully something in the next year or two.
Okay.
I'm still acting. And if film-wise, I do anything from weekends with the friends and really filming something in one day to I have a feature on the table we've been working on for about 5 years. We're trying to figure out how to do a half-deaf crew. And that's very expensive. And it's kind of like, how do you do it? I should talk with you. So that's where I am right now.
I've got something like 12 projects in the hopper. I'll cap this at 3. Working with Josh Fox, who directed Gasland, on his new HBO documentary, The Welcome Table. I'm also working on his feature narrative film that nobody really knew that he was a feature narrative director as well, but he is. Working on a Eastern European, if it's still there, a film that is basically, it's called Reigns of Berlin, which is basically Call Me By Your Name set during the rise of the Third Reich. And then doing a film called Barracudas at the Table, which is this experimental mystery thriller family at Thanksgiving dinner, starring Barbara Crampton, Clifton Collins Jr., Jermaine Fowler, Joshua Leonard, just a cast of thousands. So, yeah, fun stuff.
Great. All right, guys. Well, thank you for spending your time for your films.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out, everybody.
Appreciate it.